what injury is still concerning you the most? We're talking Toronto. We're talking McDavid leaving practice early today. Travis Hamonic, Brock Besser missing 2 games. What's the one injury where you're still like,
Yeah, I would say if you look across Canada, you've got Calgary hanging on to the last spot in the West in the wild card race there, and Giordano is essential. Like, he is the most integral part of that team that they can lean on and count on. And, won the Norris Trophy last year, which doesn't, that does tell the story, I should say. So I think that's probably one of the biggest ones. Here in Toronto, I think Freddie Anderson's going to be back soon. The Morgan Rielly one is really interesting because there is the opportunity to maybe leverage that into gaining another player. So I'm hesitant to call that a crisis. But certainly, they're all big deals. The McDavid one, that one doesn't stress me out too much. I think he'll be back real soon.
Brock Besser, the only thing that made me think about this one was he'll be reevaluated. Whenever they say reevaluated after a couple games, that worries me a little bit.
Yeah, my theory on reevaluated is that it's just coward speak now. No one wants to ever give any actual opinion for fear of having to own up to it. So it's all hesitation and hedging, and it's really annoying. So I don't even know what reevaluate means. Like, they're not going to check in on him every day. I don't know. It's a weird phrasing for me.
Yeah, the only one that I can think of having suffered many an injury in my lifetime is that there's so much swelling around whatever is wrong that it's hard to get a good look at it. But that's the only time that I'll accept reevaluation, or when it's a serious injury and the guy's out for a long time.
Do you, Justin, do you believe in Vancouver like that? We were just having a quick Canuck discussion before the break. Obviously, a huge week in Vancouver with the Sedins numbers being retired. It's an iffy time for this to come up, considering the losing streak they're on. Do you believe in Vancouver like you would normally believe in a first-place team?
I mean, not like I would normally believe in a first-place team, but I do believe in Vancouver, and part of that comes from the fact that I don't believe in anyone in that division. More than anything, I think Vancouver, if you look at their construction, what I really like seeing is elite game breakers, which I think you have. I don't know about Besser's injury, but Pettersson's obviously there. Quinn Hughes is special. And then elite goaltending. And I think they have that in Markstrom or Thatcher Demko. So they have the pieces of the puzzle to me to win on any given night. And in that division, I think that puts you a leg up. Calgary is a major question mark. Edmonton, they're probably better off, but still their depth is questionable. I just think the way that Vancouver sits in that division with their makeup, that I believe in them enough to get through that division, yeah.
Justin Bourne, co-host of Hockey Central on Sportsnet 590 and The Fan, and, of course, Sportsnet, joining us here on Tim and Sid. All right, back to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you brought up the idea of the Leafs using the money, whether it be on Morgan Rielly or anyone else, to go out there and get somebody. From the last couple days, and listen, they got 3 or 4 points over the weekend, and it still feels like the sky was falling in Toronto. Do you feel like they're in a spot where they might have to go use that so they're not starting 19 and 20-year-olds together on the back end?
Yeah, and so this is the biggest question mark is, what happens, and this is a sincere question, like what happens if they say, all right, we're going to use that money we're spending on Cody Ceci, use it on another player, and then when Ceci's back in playoffs, we have everyone. But what happens if Ceci gets healthy before that? I genuinely don't know what you end up having to do then. So that's a major question mark for them to figure out just
Justin,
how bad.
I don't want to interrupt you, but they could just say, Cody, sit down for a couple games, and if wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like we're all kind of dancing around it, but that could happen, right?
Yeah, and so honestly, the way I'm thinking of it, Tim, is like if I'm the team and I'm talking to Morgan Rielly, I'm like, Morgan, we're doing some other surgeries while you're out here, which I think they're probably doing something he's had some nicks and bruises. I think you can go to Morgan Rielly and say, hey, dude, help us out here. We need some help. And Morgan be like, all right, I could use the break anyway. If you're Cody Ceci, he's on a 1-year deal right now. And quite frankly, hasn't left a great taste in a lot of people's mouth heading into, a UFA stretch where if I were good to go in March, I'd be like, no, I'm not sitting down if I'm healthy. So, I think that would be a tougher conversation to have. So a lot of that will come down to the medical staff, and you go to them and say, how bad are these guys? Can we put it off till April, and can we use this money? The Mikheyev money, I think you can definitely free up. So they have some wiggle room here heading towards the deadline.
Right.
Justin Bourne of Sportsnet here on Tim and Sid.
Solid point.
Justin, why, and this is an issue the Leafs have had regardless of who's healthy, who's not, why can't they hold a lead in the third?
It's because they're bad at defense? Is that a fine answer? No, but really.
Nailed it.
Breaking now. But, we knew that. And that was part of the plan. Like, they were going to be bad at defense this year, but the whole thing is they're just not going to be defending, and they're going to have the lead so much it won't matter. What happens, I look at that game in Montreal, and I saw a team that said, boy, we blew the lead in the third period the night before. We have to focus on defense. Only that means you end up playing defense, and they're not good at that. So they're to me, a team that can't change their mindset. They have to continue to think offense, offense, offense. As much as everyone hates that, and you can't play that way because other teams haven't played that way, I think this team has to continue to focus on offense. Otherwise, you end up defending. You end up getting crushed by the Montreal Canadiens, who, no offense to the Canadiens and their fans, they're not exactly a juggernaut this year. So it's not their forte, the actual defending part.
How much of this is structural and maybe even Sheldon Keefe's influence on this, Justin? Because I looked at the numbers, and last year they were 12th in goals against average, and they were 10th in save percentage. This season, under both Babcock and Keefe, they're 27th in the NHL in goals against average and 25th in save percentage. The numbers aren't that much better under Keefe. Is some of this structural?
I honestly think it's personnel-based. Like, Sheldon Keefe made a point after the last game there in Montreal where he said, I actually liked our defensive effort and I liked our defensive structure. If you look at that Canadiens game, there wasn't a ton from the slot. There wasn't a ton of high-quality chances in the third period. They were just in the zone the whole time. And, I think you guys just showed the goal that tied the game there. Like, that's a point shot that, say what you want about how well Campbell played. He probably wants to make that stop more, 9 times out of 10. So, he didn't hate their game. I just think it's a personnel thing where, they stop making the cute little plays that get them out of their D zone, that get them in the O zone, that get them on offense because they were trying to play safe and smart. And for this team, it just doesn't seem to be a good recipe.
Justin, Jack Campbell in between the pipes for 2 games late last week. There was probably never more written or talked about Jack Campbell than last week in the history of time. Did you like what you saw from the young man?
I did. Yeah, I did. I mean, the bar set low. They're getting an 886 from Hutchinson, so it's like, all right, he made 900 was the save percentage over the weekend. We'll take that. But mostly I liked, what I really liked was him kind of dapping up all of his D-men after every whistle, being like, kind of getting the good vibes going, and he seems to be a really good team guy. But, what kind of caught my eye is that there was a lot of tips and deflections, and those are the ones where when they went in on Hutchinson, everyone said, on the goal, well, that's a tough play. It's tipped. It's redirected. It's through a screen. He made a lot of saves that are kind of forgettable because he made them, but I feel like would have handcuffed a lesser goaltender. So I liked him. He looks athletic. He's very busy. I think he's definitely an upgrade.
You know what else I liked? I mean, it probably means nothing, but he wore some of those goals post-game after the fact in the media scrums. And I'm not saying it's great to see or not great to see. I don't know how relevant it is. But for a guy who just walked in the door and to wear it like that, I thought that was kind of impressive from the newest guy in the room, or one of the newest guys in the room. Justin Bourne.
I wasn't sure about that. I was kind of like, hey, if you didn't like the saves you made, or you thought you should have had a couple, don't let the guys on your team know. Just be like, all right, we got 3 points. I don't know. Well, I appreciate what you're saying. Like, it's a good team sentiment, but hush, hush, Jack.
Once again, another unique point I wouldn't have thought of from Justin Bourne in this interview.
Go, yeah.
Whether it's goaltending, how you react to goals, letting in, being the new guy, or just eggs and ketchup and the relationship between the two. Another fascinating point.
I didn't know that would be the stances I would have today. This has been weird.
it's AKA a successful appearance here on Tim and Sid.